Better find a job that you love.
Find a job that you love. That's why I've chosen to be a YouTube star. So I now can have a job that I love, and I just have to figure out how to live on $21 a month. And we're going to have a heart-to-heart. And that heart-to-heart is about what I'm giving up, what I'm sacrificing in other parts of life in order to try to be out here on the road. Okay, you've heard me say before that everything is a trade-off when you're dealing with vans and RVs and what have you. You're giving up certain things for space. You're giving up certain things for comfort, depending on the way that you're trying to travel. And everybody's got to make those decisions of what their comfort level and everything is going to be for them and the type of traveling or camping that they're going to do. But one thing that doesn't get talked about a lot, especially by all these people that have some of these channels that just pitch this thing as the greatest thing in the world, man, quit your job and sell your house and, go live the life that you always wanted. Well, there's going to be some trade-offs for doing that. There have been trade-offs for me the last couple of years slowly, and there's going to be some big trade-offs this year because I plan on spending at least half of this year on the road in some form. So while I do still have some income out in the real world when I'm on the road, the fact is I'm going to make less money. And most people that choose to do this in any form are going to make less money. And they're able to cut down their expenses and live on less money. But while you're making less money, you're also paying less into Social Security, which means when you retire, you're going to be getting less money. And that's going to be one of the trade-offs for doing this now versus waiting until retirement age to do all the traveling and then hoping that you're still alive and that you're in physical condition to go and do the things that you want to do. So I'm willing to make that trade-off. A lot of people probably aren't. Now, a little history. Social Security and the way it was calculated used to be set up a little different, and if any of you are accountants and CPAs, you can chime in here in the comments or correct me if you think I'm wrong, or go do some of this research yourself. But once upon a time, this was based on like your top 30 years, 20 years or 30 years of income. And in the last decade or so, there were some things that got snuck in and changed in the way all of this was calculated. So now it's calculated when you hit retirement age, whatever age you choose to do this, it's calculated on your top 40 years. So if you don't work at all for a bunch of years and you only have 30 working years that you paid into Social Security, those other 5 get zeroed out, which is going to drop your amount of Social Security down significantly. So I think that's one of the reasons that most people now, at least that understand that, will do something in some form to have a job, even if they're on the road full time, so they are at least paying some into Social Security. Special guest, would you like to chime in with any thoughts on this? Special guest is going to sleep. Special guest apparently will not be chiming in with any more thoughts. So if a lot of you are able to make the same amount of money when you're on the road as when you were home, that's great. There was a point in my life I would have been able to do that many years ago before I really got into this. But unfortunately, that point in my life is past. So now it's trading off a little bit of the future to be able to do things now. And I think that's the situation that most people are going to be in. But again, nobody on their deathbed is saying, man, I wish I had worked more. Another trade-off that's going to come with traveling for long periods of time is just going to be, you're not going to be around your normal friends and, of course, your family. Some people are able to do that and they're okay with it. Some people are going to have a really, really, really hard time with that. But I'll tell you, if you disappear for weeks or months at a time and you don't tell everybody before you go, it's amazing. You will come back to whatever your home base is and you will see these people and they have no idea that you have been gone or do any of this stuff if you don't tell them. I can tell you that most people in my circle have no idea what I do. They have no idea that I leave for long periods of time. Certainly not that I'm on month-long and longer trips sometimes. They have no idea that I have this YouTube travel channel because it's not what I talk to them about. And if you talk to somebody about traveling that's not really interested in traveling, it's like anything else that you're talking to somebody about that they have no interest in. Their eyes are going to glaze over and, they're just not going to get it. If they aren't to the point in their life that it interests them, they're not going to understand what it is that you're doing and that you're trying to do. So one of the things you need to think about before going on the road, though, is are you willing to make that trade-off of not being around the people you've normally been around, wherever your home or your home base is. For me, I'm okay with that because I enjoy meeting other people when I'm out traveling, and that fills that gap for me. And with a little bit of technology, you can still talk to the people that matter to you. There's Skype, there's, cell phones are cheap now. Most people have some type of unlimited plan or at least very cheap plan to where you can still keep in touch with people. That makes it a little easier, but again, you have to decide what level of that you're willing to be able to deal with in order to go out on the road and travel and see things and try to have whatever adventures that you want to have. Special guest, can you think of any other trade-off type things?
Sacrifices. If you're traveling and you're doing it like we do it, you will not have a TV. Most people go nuts if they don't have a television.
That is a good point. There are people that cannot handle that. And I'm a guy, I like sports, I could do a channel on pro football. But when I'm out and about, I don't miss it. And I could care less about it because the other things are more important to me when I'm out there. But at the same time, I've had friends come over to the house, and by the way, I cut cable off 7 or 8 years ago. And I lived on Netflix and other things. One, to save money, and two, because I just absolutely hate television and commercials. But I can tell you, I've had friends come over that lose their damn mind because it's 7 o'clock on a Saturday night and they can't watch the college football game. And they're just in shock that I'm not doing that. And those people would not be able to survive on the road.
Definitely not.
They are not going to be, and they are not going to be happy because their priority in life at that point is different than what mine is. And I can tell you 15 years ago, I probably would have been about the same way. But I'm not at that place in my life now. It doesn't mean anything to me, to not have this stuff for 3, 4, 5 days at a time and walk into a place and catch up on the news in a few minutes. Whenever I hear about it, it's new news to me. Doesn't matter if it happened 3 days ago. But, we have entertainment on the road, the little, Kindle tablet we can download stuff on and we can watch it on the road. And that takes the place of our television. But again, your mileage may vary. And if you're traveling with somebody else, you have to take their views of these things into account also. Now, special guest, how do you feel when you're on the road and not having television?
Well, I miss it, but it's not anything I can't live without because I have music. That's how I deal with it.
So in other words, for you, it's a trade-off worth making.
Yeah, definitely.
Being able to see things and go places is worth giving up television for.
Absolutely.
And realistically, in some form, at least this is my view on television, live sports is different. Live sports seems to be the hang-up for a lot of guys. But anything else, realistically, you can watch sometime later, a month later, a year later, whatever. It wasn't like those of us our age when we were little kids. If you missed a show that was on Monday night at 8 o'clock, it was gone, man. You missed it. You were never going to see it. You were going to live the rest of your life without knowing on what happened on whatever episode it was, or whatever, movie of the week that was on that you missed. But we don't live in that age anymore. So most of these things, other than live sports, they're going to be there for you somewhere in some form later on.
There's a whole other life out there, and it's well worth seeing. So give up all the electronics, the video games, and get out and enjoy it.
Except this YouTube channel. For God's sakes, don't do anything. Don't make any changes in your life that would deprive you of the Budget Travel Guy channel. We're certainly not telling you to do that. Everything else, it's okay to give up. With that said, if you're wondering what to watch next, if you go down to the description, you'll see links to other recent videos, other popular videos broken into categories, some review videos, stuff on the vans, stuff on interesting and not expensive places that we've traveled to that you can travel to also. And we'll see you soon.
Thanks for watching.